Our initial goal in starting 3 for All was not to make money. It was for the 3 of us to be able to work together consistently. And we accomplished that. We got that, and people dug it. When we started, we didn't know exactly what we were going to do, except that there was going to be the 3 of us. And we went into rehearsal workshop to find out what we could do. And we discovered pretty quickly that we could do a lot with just the 3 of us.
Welcome to another episode of Business with Passion. Each show features guests who have transformed their long-term passion into a successful business. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton Roth. My marketing strategy business grew from my love of talking with passionate business owners. In this series, I share their passion with you. So if you're looking for inspiration to enhance your business passion, keep watching.
There's a lot of definitions of improv. One is that it's all made up, so you don't bring in pre-existing plot or characters to the situation, at least the way we approach it. But I think, Rafe, it might have been you who said, it was one of my favorite definitions of improv, because it's so simple in a way, which is be somebody who is somewhere. So you create some character that's in some relationship with the other characters, and you're somewhere, and that's your starting point. And then whatever else happens, who knows? You know, the rest of it is found, but it is somebody who's somewhere. And I think in terms of the way we approach it, our subject matter is anything that's ever happened in the history of the world to anybody, or anything that might have happened. So it's an enormous subject matter, but our job, in fact, is really very specific initially, just to be somebody who's somewhere.
The exciting thing that I've realized over the years is that I want to play everything. So men, women, little kids, animals. Oh, yes, the lizard with polio? Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what Stephen played a few shows ago. So you just find a way to do it. So if you have to fly, you find a way to fly. I guess as long as one's body holds out, you're able to do it. Just do anything, everything, and if you don't know how, you do it anyway. I've never flown.
Even more so.
Right. I've never flown a jet. I've never performed surgery in real life, but I've done it many times on stage with varying results.
The emphasis for us that it's a night of theater, and yes, it's very interactive theater, but for us, we really want it to be a show. You know?
Right. And the audience gets very involved because they're seeing it come about at the same time you are. And I can remember instances where something suspenseful is happening on stage, and some character will go towards a door, and you'll hear an audience member go, "Oh God, no!" They're so tied up in it. It's exciting for that reason, because the audience is tied up in the moment, because that's where all of us are living in the moment.
Which is really where actually most of the laughs come from anyway, I think. Not from us pushing and asking for them, but that we're all experiencing this at the same time. And that to me is like that's such a different type of laughter. I mean, it is cathartic in a way, because we're all sort of, it's almost, I don't know what the word is, but it's almost, not surreal, but sublime. It's sublime moments at times like that, because you can't really take credit for them either. They're just happening, and we're just sort of, they're watching us surf these waves that have showed up, you know? That's how it feels.
This means go to the scene with the horses, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty basic.
And this one means play somebody, a parent, who's not nice to me. Right?
Right, that's it.
Yeah, there's those things like that we're using constantly during a show to let each other know the next thing that is rehearsed that will happen. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, it's actually, it's exactly the opposite of accurate, actually. That's what people think we do.
Maybe I've been operating on a different
system. You should have let us know.
Is that what those have meant?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, darn.
Hand spasms.
People do come out of our shows or while they're watching it, and they speculate that we have these signals that will tell us what we're going to do next, that we have some backlog of plot ideas or characters that we can tell the other person we're going to do that. That to me seems outrageously complex, and I don't think I have the memory for that. So if you do this, that means play some happy 3-year-old. What we do is so infinite that there's no way to have signals for it.
Improv has sort of a deserved reputation for being
Fast and Furious.
semi-professional and fast and furious and scattershot, frenetic. And I think all of us appreciate a more adult approach or something, not based on drugs and alcohol and being goofy. And something about that people really like. It's not what they expect. And when they see it, they go, oh, I didn't know you could do that with improv. And it still works. It's still really entertaining. It's not boring and self-serving, but it is slower than what I'm used to seeing. And I love that. I think that's my favorite thing about working with these guys too, is that they're okay with that.
I grew up in Oakland. I was born in Oakland. My father was born in Oakland. And it was a great place to grow up. My mom worked for Kaiser. My dad owned a bar and then was a bartender. When I was a kid, I really enjoyed playing. I did an enormous amount of pretending. I spent a lot of years pretending to be a child spy. I was also kind of a shy kid too. So when I was about 22 or 3, I realized that if I didn't pursue my interest in acting, I was going to basically destroy my whole life. That I'd be full of regrets when I got to 40, which is now quite a few years ago. And so I decided to take an acting class. But there was still something else I wanted, and I saw a flyer for an improv class. And this was in '78, I guess. And I took the class and I fell in love with it from the first night. I just took to it, you know. And what I love about improv is that you get to use everything you know, everything you've ever learned, everything you've imagined. You get to be the writer, the actor, the director in the moment. So from that first class, I fell in love with it. And within 3 months, I was on stage. For the last 20 years or so, my career has been focused on improv, although I've done some other things, but that's the main thing. So here at BATS Improv, I was artistic director for a few years. Exciting time too, where things were changing, so I was able to help codify that. I'm also a teacher. I taught down at Stanford with ACT, and I teach privately, so it's where I make my money as an improv teacher. There's something very exciting about teaching. For one thing, you get to encounter all this new talent. To be honest, both Stephen and Tim were my students, so I got a chance to work with them when they were just beginning. And my goal as a teacher is not to create perpetual students, but I'm actually trying to create colleagues. I'm trying to give a handout, like, here's what I know, come on, let's do this together. Let me make you my peer, and let me pour as much information into your head as I possibly can in the shortest amount of time it takes. So I've been very lucky in that I do what I love to do, and I do it with people I love to do with, and I also learn things as an improviser through teaching. So I'm constantly learning and constantly teaching, so it's a great cycle. I also produce and direct my own shows. There's a couple formats that I've come up with. One is called Double Feature. It's 2 improvised movies which unfold simultaneously. It's for 4 players, 2 men, 2 women. And it is so exciting to try to balance 2 narratives and make sure that they contrast, so that they are, so if you have a film noir, then maybe you have a story with little kids. Something so that there's a real strong contrast. So that's one of the places I work and one of the things I love to do. I have a lot of interest in life. I am infinitely interested in life, and I wish I could live 1,000 years or 2,000 years to be able to follow it all up. I'm very interested in archaeology and human origins and anthropology. So you know, I've done a lot of studying on that. I love cave paintings. There's a cave painting in Chevette, which was only found maybe 18 years ago, and they are extraordinary. So I do a lot of reading on that, and I love that. I'm also a writer. I write on show business history. My specialties are James Cagney, Greta Garbo, and Barbra Streisand. There's a kind of a motley crew there, but all have something in common. They're very individual performers. And the book I just finished is called Inside the Toy Box. It's a big kind of coffee table book with 20 photos they often have a little bit of a dark edge to them. There's about 2 or 3 with ventriloquist dummies in them, which scared me so much as a child, but as an adult I enjoy that fear. I also finished a book called Alice Is, which I'd started back in 2000. One night I improvised this little rhyme that amused me, and I wrote it down, and it had this alphabetical aspect to it. Then over the intervening years, it took me about 7 years to finish it, I would pull out my little rhyme and work on it until finally I had finished it, and then I self-published it. I don't know if there's any other time that I feel as alive as I do on an improv stage. Everything counts, every moment, and you are sharing that moment with your fellow players, often whom you love. So it is the best of life in a way, where you're doing exactly what you love with people you love, and people are watching it and they're loving it. So it's a wonderful craft, and it's a wonderful thing to do, and especially for somebody who was shy, to actually work through that and get to the other side is very fulfilling and most delightful.
People rehearse in very different ways. I think I like what we've done rehearsal-wise. We don't overanalyze stuff that we do in rehearsal. We just get together, have a workout, we do a bunch of scenes, and sometimes various ones of us will take charge for an hour or something and say, let's work on this thing, I've been wanting to do this, let's work on how we play women, let's work on different characters, let's work on our wares, and things like that. Sometimes we'll do that, but you know, I think we goof around in certain ways as much as any group I've known. Like, we'll play ball, this game we play where we just hit a ball in the air for 2 hours in a 3-hour rehearsal if we want to. Well, let's go, let's not do any scene work, let's just do this. And I think, personally, our affinity for that, well, I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but we really like to be physical on stage and very, very just physical with each other and with the environment. And I think just playing ball and stuff has really helped us and not get too, I see some groups, we all teach, and you work with some groups and you see groups in rehearsal that just talk about every scene that they've just done for 20 minutes. Oh, we could have done this, we could have done that. And I think we're all like, let's not work that way. So it's just practicing skills, having fun together. I grew up here in the Bay Area. I grew up in Richmond, and we moved to Hayward. And then from Hayward moved to Mill Valley, where I became very active in high school acting. But my dad was a minister, my mom was an organist and a housewife, both. And I would say, like a lot of actors, I would describe my childhood as fairly painful. My mom was bipolar, which was not diagnosed correctly like her whole adult life. So our family was very chaotic. The good side of that, from being an actor perspective, is that when your parents are not paying you that much attention, when they're so involved in their own problems, you have to go out by yourself and make things up and keep yourself amused and pay yourself a lot of attention that you're not getting from your parents. And I think a lot of actors have that in common. I've had various jobs over the years, community organizing, and did the whole wheelchair sports coaching and organizing for 25 years. So that kind of became a part-time but ongoing job. And just a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I stopped working in wheelchair sports as a paid position. I still volunteer. And I am looking at making acting and improvisation in particular even more of my full-time occupation. It's really, I've been making my living acting, I guess, about 13 years now. But the improvisational side of it is something that I am eager to pursue even more and make more things happen. The reason I do improv is I really love the humorous situations without trying to be funny. I like to act and pretend I'm other people, so that's really fun. I like the collaborative nature of it. I've never been a huge fan of one-person shows and things. I like theater to be more interactive, so I like having to do it with other people and relying on their skills as well as mine to make it happen. Improv is very different from other acting pursuits in that you have to be interested in every aspect of it because you never know what you're going to be asked to do. You know, I, as Tim Orr, am not going to get cast by a director as a 20-year-old blonde woman very often anymore. But in an improv show, I might have to play a blonde young ingenue every night. So my range has to be enormous as a character, and my knowledge of history and things like that has to be as big as I can possibly make it in order to get things semi-accurate in any scene or period or genre I might be in. So I think you actually have to be as well-rounded as you can be. So when you identify an area of weakness or an area where you need that growth, you buckle down and do that for a while. And I think each of us does have that perspective of improv. Some groups have a guy, say a heavyset guy, who's kind of the John Belushi type, or something like that, and they play themselves over and over more or less, and they get laughs because of their personality. None of us approach improv like that. We try to play the characters that are necessary for the story. And so being well-rounded as an improviser is something I think we all strive very hard to do. And if we find that we're occupying certain roles within our group, if one of us is pulling too much narrative or somebody's doing too much of this, we talk about it and sort of actively resist it. Like, okay, we don't want to fall into roles within our group. We all want to be able to do everything as much as possible. Now, I myself, as a teacher more than a performer, am really interested in certain aspects of improvisation. How to create very concrete wares and how to execute action within all kinds of environments on the improv stage, and I teach that stuff. But as a performer, you just strive as an improviser just to get better in some aspect all the time. Because you can never, like Rafe said it earlier, you can never be as good as you want to be. It's just too much you have to do at all times. So that is the great thing about improv as a performer. I've been doing it 21 years now, and I feel like I just started in some ways. Just scratching the surface. There's so much you need to know and do. This is a good example, I think, of a scene that's nice and slow and not much happens, but it just seems real in some way.
I'm going to buy it. That's Park Place. I'm going to buy Park Place.
That's the moment where you wait to see what's actually going on. And Tim established that it's Monopoly.
And that we're older.
So much fun to come over here and play Monopoly.
We're husband and wife, right?
Yeah.
Grandparents to Steve?
No, parents.
Parents, that's right.
Sure is, son. We don't see you as often as we like to. We love you being the banker.
Very quickly, things start to go into place. Like, okay, Monopoly is an offer, okay. I don't see them very much, so it's starting to, their characters are just sort of getting set, and then you can feel it starts to
Takes off on the slowness. There's a slow thing that happens, and we all see just how damn slow it is.
Right.
you know what your character wants.
Yeah, you can just grab them. Use a little sanitizer between each.
He's gonna kick some tongues out there. That's a great offer. I also made the choice in the moment to have a really good relationship with you as my husband.
Yeah, that we're not arguing.
Yeah, we're not arguing, that we find each other delightful. In some ways, see there, we're kissing.
Yeah.
Steven's the odd man out. And now I've decided to just shake those dice for the longest time.
One thing I think we do really, what's that? Oh, the shaking goes on forever and ever.
Yes, that's one of the things as a
30
performer,
seconds.
you see how long you can do it.
Yeah. One thing that I think
still
we
shaking.
do, I love the way we do it, and I think we do it really well, is start scenes. We get right in the middle of something and we don't worry about it, you know. We're not concerned that we're right in the middle because we try to make things clear to each other right away so the scene takes off.
So now the slowest person, which is my husband, Tim, is going to get the dice, but no, he's got it for him.
And Walker.
Yeah.
Your brain does funny things, like right in the middle of that walk with the walker, I was very acutely aware for just a second that I was walking just like Tim Conway's old man. Your brain just does that
Yeah,
stuff too.
it'll alert you.
It gives you a little image or a little thought. I go, this is just like Tim Conway, that little shuffle of the feet. And then you go, oh, well, forget about it, who cares?
Yeah.
You don't do it because you think of it, but
It almost makes you want to stop doing it.
Yeah.
But you think you've already started it, so it's all right, you continue.
Exactly.
That was a moment where I remember pushing myself. I wanted to put the drink cabinet or wherever it was in a different place on stage. I'll sometimes go to my usual places, and I put it right on that wall for some reason, just because I thought, I just want to, shake things out.
Right.
Two sixes.
The stage we're watching here, by the way, is this stage, just set a little differently.
The music just changed everything.
Look, how's she go?
Sweet music.
It's an offer right there from the musician.
The scene's been very funny, and he pulls it into kind of a serious
I
family.
have dinner for you. Is it because
Sweet.
you're losing?
I got that little laugh line there, that little cut line. Sometimes you know you got to get out of there, and sometimes your brain just gives it to you. When he says he has to leave, and then I say, is it because you're losing?
Oh, right. It's because you're rather than we're so damn slow.
Yeah.
It's driving you crazy.
Yeah, and it's also one more thing to make you feel bad about your character.
More of the scene opens up. I had to be dragged into improv because I thought it was about being fast and funny and smart, and I didn't think I was fast enough, smart enough, or funny enough, to hang with the people that I was watching in San Francisco in my formative years, because I was watching the likes of Rafe and Brian Lohman and Michael McShane and Regina Saizi and Barbara Scott, and I was watching these people from the audience, and I thought, not only what's the point, but I actually quit. I remember seeing Pulp Playhouse for the first time, and I quit. And I had to sort of be talked back into it. And even though you look at it and you think that's what it's about, when you're learning it and you're actually on stage, and this holds true to this day, that's what it's about. Just listening, slowing down and listening. And in fact, I will say to this day, like I said earlier, I'm always scared before a show. But now, I realize that the last light before the theater on a night that we were like sold out and people have worked hard all week and they're coming here for us to put on a show, and we have nothing prepared. At that last second, as I'm in near panic, I remember, oh yeah, all I have to do is listen to Tim and Rafe. Just listen and just go with them. And even if I have nothing, they'll have something. Just something, anything at all, even if it's just that. You're just like, okay, that I can hold on to. I can try and be of service to that. And boy, that has just, I would say that to new students of improv. Just stop trying so hard, because that's really the hallmark. That's what you really notice in young improvisers. They're working way too hard. Way too hard. It's like they have a backpack full of bricks. You want to just take all the bricks off, take the backpack off, and say, just stand there and just be in your body, I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up in the Valley, born in Encino, lived in Van Nuys until we were we got kicked out of Catholic school. Moved down into Orange County, and then my family exploded. My family just sort of fell apart. My sisters and I ended up on the road. And then over time, I went to College of Creative Studies, which is on the campus of UC Santa Barbara, where I really learned how to work hard at something creative. Eventually moved up to San Francisco and lived here for 15 years. And boy, that's where everything I can't believe that I was in the right place at the right time and met these guys, and I just feel like I threaded the tiniest of needles to suddenly have my life take off in this direction. Playing as a kid, playing with a lot of like G.I. Joes and cars and dinosaurs were big with me as a kid, and tiny figurines, So I played a lot, and all those elements kind of came together as the one thing I could hold on to, which was I could visualize things on stage. I could draw things on stage in my mind, and that is something I could hold on to, because I knew any day I was going to be kicked out. I was going to be asked to leave. I still have that feeling like, thank you so much, but you're no longer needed because you're not good enough, that whole feeling, Other than improv, for years I worked at The Sims, the computer game The Sims. I helped develop the language called Simlish. It actually came out of improvisation. and Jerry Lawler, who does our lights now, the great Jerry Lawler, and I sort of sat shoulder to shoulder for 10 years and helped develop that language, which was all improvised. And right now, I'm in LA, and I've been fortunate enough to do motion pictures. I just finished a movie for Robert Zemeckis, all motion capture animation. And I've been working at DreamWorks, also another byproduct of improvisation, because a former student of mine brought me in to work on Kung Fu Panda with a particular actor who was improvising a lot. So I've done that, and I teach at Cirque du Soleil on occasion. Dan O'Connor and I teach improvisation to the acrobats. The clowns know the improv. They're great to have in class, but the acrobats, their training is quite opposite this, for a good reason. They don't want, like, every night, Dimitri's in another spot, you know, and poof, Katrina lands over here. No, they're very rigid in that way, and our job is to, when it comes to them interacting with the audience, to teach them to be flexible in that way, which is hopefully very valuable for them. My Los Angeles group is Improv Theater, which is headed by Dan, who started Bay Area Theatesports here. We do shows like Jane Austen Unscripted, Shakespeare Unscripted, Sondheim Unscripted, Tennessee Williams, all in these genres, on these very specific styles of improvisation. But it's all improv in those styles, which is also very challenging, and just working with world-class improvisers in that group. I mean, really just amazing. I'm constantly being humbled.
One thing we do almost every show, maybe every show, is we go sit on the lip of the stage at some point. And that's a tradition we've done. We have no idea what will happen. It's just like any improv scene. But for some reason, we really like it. It breaks the stage up, and it gets us right next to the audience. And it seems like we do it almost every show. So that's really fun. That's probably as close to an established thing that we have, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also one of the most nerve-wracking.
Because it's so close?
Well, that too. Yeah.
It's
Also,
so quiet.
It's so close and quiet, and you just have nothing to start.
Yeah, and you really have to build it together, find the little components that's going to make it into something.
Remember when we were at the funeral and Grandpa and Grandma Miller were there, and they told Dad that they thought we should go with them?
Come see the shows. Come see us work and tell people about us if you like our work, because that's really our mission. You know, we want to just get more and more people aware of our work, and we want to just do more and more shows for more and more people, and just keep working, and so that we all can sort of discover it together. You know, there's just so much left to be discovered, and we just want everybody along for the ride, because they always are every show anyway. They're just as surprised as we are, you know. I think we're at times more surprised than anyone at what's going on.
Thanks for watching this episode of Business with Passion. If you'd like more information about 3 for All, other shows, or perhaps to be a guest on a future show, go online to tv.manygoodideas.com.